How many work on agile development? Okay. So waterfall models. Okay. Nobody works. I had some good jokes. Now I have to don't have to say that. Anyway, agile is like. Pardon? No. Agile software development. Agile practices.
You can still tell the joke.
Yeah, anyway, I will say the joke.
So that people who want to agile.
Yeah, earlier there was waterfall model, now they are having agile model, and most of the engineers are pissed off with agile model. So it is like more monitoring system. The managers are happy, but the engineers are not, because you have to work on daily basis, you have to improve on daily basis, you have to do stand-ups on daily basis. Yeah, but it is good. Even I didn't use agile practices in the corporate world, but it caught me in the startup world, because in startup world it's caught me very hard. In corporate world, if you don't practice agile, you may lose a project. There may be a delay in a project. You may lay off some people. But in startup world, if you don't, you will die. The startup will shut down. There is no other way. Agile is nothing but a lot of things are there about agile. The mainly I will be focusing on is how to improve on daily basis. You need not know everything in advance. So change is the constant, they say, right? The change is the main constant. So the change is inevitable. You have to adapt to that change. That itself is agile, right? And so if you don't, means you will lag behind. It's a huge monitoring process. You do daily stand-ups, and on a sprint-wise basis, you have to deliver something today. So it has to be done today. Then you have to reiterate on that. We have to improve on that. It is not like you collect the whole requirements, then work on that, then deliver. By the time you deliver, your customer might have changed. Means it is no longer there in the product, in the market. The product does not exist in the market. The market business, whatever it drives, has changed altogether. So you don't have to understand everything, develop the product and then release. So whatever you know, you develop, you release, you get the feedback, you work on that, you repeat, and you improve on that. This is agile. So there are a lot of other in the process. I won't bore you with that. Probably you will sleep, and even I may sleep while talking. So who am I? My name is Pramod. I am the co-founder of Data Mantra. So Data Mantra is all about, we try to solve the problems in Apache Spark. Anybody worked on Apache Spark? Okay, so nobody can pinpoint my mistakes then. That's a good thing for me.
Yesterday they learned.
Okay,
So there is a
I'm scared now. So yeah, whatever we try to solve is around Apache Spark. We have moved from Hadoop to Apache Spark. Because you can say Hadoop is the first generation of data warehousing or big data technologies. Then comes the second generation, which is Apache Spark. There are a lot of drawbacks in Hadoop, which is solved by, most of them is solved by Apache Spark. So we try to work everything on Apache Spark. Any problem, we try to solve it. It need not be analytics. It can be any scalability problem also. So we try to solve it by Apache Spark.
That Hadoop 2 is what is called the same as?
No, that Hadoop 2, no, I'm just speaking about the generation. Hadoop 2, whatever they say is the yarn. It is just a processing engine. It's not a processing engine. MapReduce is version 1. On top of that, the version 2 is like, the good example is Amazon Web Services. The whole cluster is running as a operating system is a distributed operating system. You can take whatever you want from the distributed operating system, like number of cores, how much memory you want. You execute your project and give back that cores and memory to the distributed operating system. That is MapReduce version 2. MapReduce version 1 is you have all these things. You collect cores, you have the memory, you have it with you dedicatedly. You cannot like take it and give it. You are holding it, you are not giving to anybody else. But in MapReduce version 2, there is a pool of all these things. Any application can take, they can run and give it back. Any application can take, they run and give it back. So this is MapReduce version 2. So the Spark is altogether different. That application will run on top of this.
That means
Yeah.
only one user can time work in the MapReduce 1, you mean? Or, I mean, I was trying to get it.
You can run multiple jobs.
Okay. Then in that case, each job can own any.
Exactly.
In that case,
One job, there will be one job tracker. So he will control the whole job. Right? In a Hadoop cluster, there will be only one job tracker. He will run everything. If he is gone, every projects that are running, it is gone. Every application,
only one job at a time.
yeah, any application you can run it, but whenever the main person, the job tracker is gone, all the application that are running is gone. You cannot do anything about that. But in version 2, for each application there is a job tracker, you can say. So even if it goes, the other applications are still running. So it's just like AWS operating system, you can say that. Anybody used AWS? Okay, probably you may be knowing. It has a EMR. You can say MapReduce 1 as EMR and whole AWS as MapReduce version 2. That's the analogy, but it's totally different. So what will be the agenda here? The agenda is how quickly we move, because agile practices is all about how quick the turnaround time is of the project, how quick we deliver to the market, how quickly we get the feedback, we reiterate, we improve ourselves. So taking that into account, the agile practices, the first is moving from months to weeks. The development will happen from months and it will take weeks. And the next is the ability to use existing skill set. People are familiar with multiple C language, C++, Java, SQL, and many other technologies. So try to use those skill set, because if you want to learn one more thing, again a training will happen. 5 days you enjoy in the training, then come back, then you try to implement. So those things will be not there because you already know the language. So those things are also there in the Apache Spark. One more thing is scaling should be straightforward. So again, it's not like you for the 1 week of time you've done some project, now you want to scale it. So again, you cannot spend 1 more week or 2 weeks to scale it and put it in somewhere, right? So there should be an interface where Apache Spark or any technology which is scalable should be integrated to something which is also scalable. So finally is moving to cloud. So all these things I will explain in the context of agile practices as well as our one of the travel analytics, whatever the project we are working. So you can ask me questions then and there. You need not wait till the end of the session. Okay?
So that moving into cloud, etc., how it can be agile under that, but agile we thought only they are working.
Agile
be
is
like a working practice.
Yeah, there is a bit of overlap. I just wanted to say that what I wanted to say about agile is how quickly we move, how quickly we reiterate. There are a lot of things in agile. Probably it will bore everybody.
This is just an implementation.
Yeah, this is like how Apache Spark fits best into the agile practices. So how quick or how easy it is to learn, how quick we can move, how it is easily integrated to different ecosystem in the Hadoop system. So I think big data, everybody knows about big data. It's an open truth now. It's not a secret anymore. So most of them are like finance and healthcare were the early adopters of those things, and even the technology. Then came telecom and retail. Probably everybody knows big data because of e-commerce, right? Flipkart or Amazon, the recommendation engine, all those things. So it was way beyond that. Before that, the big data came into the world, but people come to know about these consumer-facing technologies, consumer-facing companies like Flipkart or Amazon. So have you heard about saving water? There is a company called I2 Technology. They save around 100 million liters of water per year using big data technologies. They have sensors fit in the water utility companies, the water network, they have sensors in the water network, and those sensors emit logs or data, and those are captured in the huge clusters of Cassandra server. On top of that, Apache Spark could be running. So these data is captured and they intelligently come out with where the leakage is happening, where the pipe burst may happen. So providing these information and proactively acting on the maintenance of these water networks. So they try to save 100 million liters of water. So how do we save here? We don't take bath. So that's the way we save water. We will save like 100 billion liters of water. So anybody knows about, means I just wanted to give these examples because there are a lot of use cases with Apache Spark or big data technologies, not just the Apache Spark, but it's big data technologies. So most common things you might have heard, these wind turbines. Have you heard about how big data is being used in wind turbines? So there is a company called, I don't remember, Veritas or something. They analyze the global weather data. The global weather data is collected, and also the data that came out from the existing turbines, wind turbines, and they pinpoint where exactly the wind turbines has to be installed, so that you get maximum power from the wind turbines. So all these things, they crunch around petabytes of data, and they do it in 15 minutes. Earlier it used to take weeks of time to pinpoint, and they used to install not exactly where they have to install it because they were not getting the more accurate data. So by now using big data technologies, they are able to pinpoint the exact location where they want to install the wind turbines. So that is one more. Anybody knows F1 racing? Interested in F1 racing? Pardon? Yeah, Formula 1. Yeah, even they use. McLaren uses data analytics to have a competitive edge on F1 racing, right? So how do they use? They have like 160 to 70 sensors fit in the McLaren F1 car. So they get the data, they will figure out when the pit stop has to be taken, when the gas filling has to happen, whether these two should be happen together, the gas weight, whatever gas you put, that will increase the weight of the car. So all these analytics, and even it is used in the simulation of analytics, how to drive it. So anyway, the F1 driver are best, but these are helping hand for him. This is where it is used. Anybody know about satellite imaging? Anybody knows about Skybox? Skybox is a company which provides satellites, which build satellites. The satellites has been there from long back. What is the speciality of these Skybox? They use low-cost technology to build. The cost is very less. Anybody can build the satellite, and they take images, the high-definition images of the Earth. So that's not the point here. The point is they use those images and analyze the data, and they will come out with what's happening and where. It is basically used in defenses, could be used in disaster management. It is used in containers, shipping yard containers, on how many containers are there in the shipping yard. All those images. This is bought by Google, the Skybox. They now just don't want, they just want to monitor us in the offline also. They were monitoring us in the online, now they are monitoring offline also. So now, rat problems. How do we solve the rat problems here? We don't, right? We are happy with them. So, but in Chicago, there is a company, it's the government, which has collected the 911 calls and many complaints given by the residents, and they have a huge pile-up of data on this. Using those data sets, they are using Hadoop technologies and figuring out how the rat problem could be solved, where the rats are and how it could be solved. So these are, and there is also crime prediction. Anybody saw Minority Report? Yeah, it's a good movie, but we are still not here, still not there. There we do all these things. Nothing is happening around there. But Los Angeles City Police and many other are using big data technologies to predict where the crime is happening, so that they can patrol that area and prevent the crime from happening. And also, after the crime, they are easily able to, quickly able to, not easily, I can say quickly able to pinpoint who is the actual thief. So in these all cases, big data technologies work very well. These are the simple, some of the use cases. So in the travel industry, how many know about Airbnb?
One question.
Yeah.
Can you give a picture of the big data early adopters in India
Early adopters,
or the current adopters in India?
yeah, current, there are all the e-commerce companies, our company, we adopt. I think we are the first one to adopt Apache Spark. You won't find much people around in Bangalore who are using Apache Spark. There is still a resource crunch. Yeah, Flipkart is there, Amazon is there, and all the e-commerce, most of the e-commerce use big data, but Apache Spark, very few people use it. And even now most of the service companies, they have started using it. Everybody is embracing big data technologies, but Apache Spark, it is taking off. Probably from here to 6 months, there will be a lot of people with Apache Spark experience. But now it's big data, is many companies use it. Yeah, Airbnb, how they came up with the professional photo servicing. They were the ones who started using big data technologies. They came to know that the number of rentals there were booked, the feature was good quality photo. So using that, they determined that using big data technologies, whatever the booking was happening, all those bookings were happening in which the quality of the photo was very good. So from that time, they started giving free professional photo services to the hosts who were hosting the rental places. Also, they provide pricing tips. So even the host who want to give their apartment for rent, for short-term rentals, so they can fix the price, what price they want to sell. Airbnb doesn't have control on that, but they start giving the tips on what has to be the, they will take multiple data points, like what is happening in that city, any event is happening, any celebrity is coming, what is the weather condition, what is the season and what is not the season. All these data points are taken into consideration, and based on that, a pricing will be given to the end hosts. So if at all the host uses that pricing or anything 5% around that pricing, it is more likely that the apartment or the tourist place will be booked. The inventory will be booked. So also better recommendation for the end user who are travelers who travel. For them also they will provide good recommendation based on where they are, using their location, what are the good places around their place, wherever they are. So that is one, Airbnb, just to know about travel, because we are also working on the same project. TripAdvisor also uses big data features to provide recommendations, the same as Airbnb provides. They also, because TripAdvisor is not a booking platform, you can book the tickets or book the hotel or tickets, air flight tickets through some other, this is just an aggregator. TripAdvisor is an aggregator. I don't know whether they are moving into commercially to book a ticket, but they are aggregator. You can book Ibigo Group or Make My Trip, Clear Trip, all those through TripAdvisor. So the main thing, the starting point where they use this for fake reviews. So you go to some place, you provide reviews on that place, right? So they want to determine whether this review is fake or not. They had tied up with American Express credit card, so that they will get to know, yeah, he swiped here, yes, genuinely he stayed here, and he is giving the right feedback. Sometimes people, just for the sake of giving feedback, they have some grudge, so they just give some feedback.
And even that fellow also may have a card, isn't it? Even the fellow, there's nobody without a card.
Yeah,
But
because the
not
transaction,
the real user or not.
yes, the transaction is known, that the American Express, they know the transaction happened at this place, and American Express and TripAdvisor are tied up so that they can validate whether the review is correct. That is one data point, that tying up with American Express. Yeah, like his location, or he checked into the hotel, there is a Wi-Fi, he got connected to that Wi-Fi. That data also will be taken to determine whether he really stayed there and was the review genuine or not. Then the popularity index, again, you will see most of the Make My Trip, Clear Trip, they will see these are the popular destinations. So all these come out with big data technologies. They analyze the logs, they will see who is looking for which destination. Based on that, the popularity index will be calculated. So the case study is all about travel data analytics. I will give you a not code level, but a higher level, how we worked on that. To understand they had a problem of understanding the user behavior. One of our client, who is one of the biggest travel company in India, not in the world, but in India, they wanted to understand the user behavior. So they didn't have the technology to understand it. They were dumping all that data into MySQL database. So everybody might have worked in MySQL database, right? So it's SQL queries. So they were, anything you swipe, you are browsing the app, the travel app, all that data will be going to MySQL. So but that was their technology, and they were not able to scale it, and they wanted some user behavior on what they are searching, and the examples like on which did they land up on review page, did they write a review, from which page they dropped out. So all these kinds of information they wanted to get it. There are companies which has tools to give these analytics. Anybody heard about Localytics or Mixpanel? So these are the companies which provide analytics tools. They have a dashboard, you can see all those things. But they don't have a customized dashboard. After some time you want to give your own query, so they don't provide all these things. They have a standard set, you have to use those standard set. So now the main agile thing, how to use agile, how we use, it's not like we used it, we use Apache Spark and it fits into agile practices. That's the reason agile here. So it helps, the Apache Spark helps to move from months to weeks. Okay, so it's a very simple language. Probably everybody might have worked on Hadoop, HDFS, MapReduce. How many are working on that? Okay, a lot of people are working on that. The difference here is Hadoop means there are a lot of open source technology integrated. You have HDFS, right? You have MapReduce, you have Hive, you have Pig, you have Scoop, you have Oozie, you have Zookeeper, HBase, lot of things. All of these have their own runtimes. The only difference between Hadoop and Spark is Hive has its own runtime, and Pig has its own runtime, Scoop has its own runtime. Everything are like a framework and a runtime. You have to learn the framework, the whole thing, right? You learn HDFS, then you learn MapReduce, then you learn Hive. Those are all totally different frameworks. But the thing in Apache Spark is, it's a single runtime. It is combination of MapReduce, Hive, Pig, machine learning, and GraphDB. Everything. These things, a whole framework, lot of time to learn this. Apache Spark is very less time, takes very less time to learn because everything is a library on top of a single runtime. Apache Core is a single runtime. On top of that, we get simple library. SQL is one library, GraphX is one library, machine learning is a library, Spark streaming is a library. Everything is a library. So you don't have to learn. Yeah.
So what's the hardware configuration that is required for working on Apache Spark?
Apache Spark, it's a normal Hadoop configuration that we require, not necessarily that high end. Nowadays, the commodity server comes with like 24 GB RAM, it can go up to 72 GB RAM, 8 cores to like 24 cores. This is a single configuration server.
What are the minimum requirements?
Okay, minimum requirement you can, for demo purpose, you can run on a 4-core machine. RAM 4 GB RAM is enough for a single demo purpose. Otherwise, for production level, the RAM will be around 36 GB to 72 GB. It depends on the use case.
Production means how big the data is.
It may start from terabytes to petabytes. We haven't worked on petabytes level.
When terabyte 72 GB is enough.
No, it's more than enough actually. Yeah. You can work with 8 cores and altogether 72 GB. You can work it. Like you have like 5 to 6 machines. Altogether the RAM size is 72 GB. Terabytes of data can be handled with those things. There will be servers. The single server configuration itself will be 36 cores and 72 GB RAM. So those are very high data and maybe in petabytes of data.
You said you work on a NoSQL database, right?
Yes.
So this is structured data.
Yes.
So have you any experience on doing on unstructured data, like say log, data logs?
Data logs.
User logs.
Apache server logs. Yeah, we have worked on that. And they are also like of semi-structured data. Probably more unstructured data would be like videos and images, but we haven't worked on that. But that should not make any difference because it's only the input thing that has to change. There will be input APIs which will be provided to read those things. The other processing will happen as it has to happen, or sometimes you can use machine learning algorithms because it fits very well with the whole Apache Spark. It is integrated with those things. Yeah. Apache Spark is most of the thing that we work on is on Scala. Anybody worked on Scala? Okay, it's basically developed for scaling purpose. Scala means scalable language. So Java is not so good for scalability. A lot of things are there which every programmer makes mistake. So they came out with Scala, which is good for scalability.
No, but that's only for Spark, or it's also that can be used for other.
Yeah, it could be used anywhere. It's a language, and that language best suits for scalability, and Apache Spark also best suits for scalability. So the marriage is very good there. because, and also it's a bit cryptic. The Scala language, initially it will be cryptic, any language will be cryptic, but it is much better than the Java. Many things there were in Java that were written by yourself, like singleton classes. How many have worked on singleton classes? Okay. How many enjoy working on singleton classes? Oh, that's cool. Because you learn singleton classes in 1 week, then you start debugging it for the next 6 months, right? So that's what happens in singleton. So what they do is they have put all these things in the language compiler itself. So you need not write your own singleton classes. And also Java, you have to set, get, you have to write all those things. You have to define the final variables. I never got what is final variables, why it was being used. So everything, these things, set, get, all the code has to return. It is a big code. But in Scala, you just write class, parameters, in an open bracket and close bracket, over. Everything is over. That's the whole class definition. There is no get, there is no set, there is no final. You want const, everything is done, val and var. There is only two things. Val means const, var means variable. You can change it. Val means you cannot change it. No final, nothing. Everything is in one single line. The whole code is there. Yeah. First of all, in the agile practices, you have to move fast, right? So how do we connect? We have to connect to the existing technology. So they don't allow you to change the existing technology. Even if it is old technology, they don't want to touch it. They want to have something that can integrate with it. Because most of the customers will be using those things and they don't want to mess with those things. So you have to connect to the existing technology. So Apache Spark has APIs, very well, simple APIs and sophisticated APIs that connects to the existing technology, to the MySQL database. You can just connect to a MySQL database with a single line of code using the JDBC driver. Now, after connecting, you have to know what is there in the table. You have to understand the table. So what do? You go to the manager, right? And ask, what is this contents of the table? I have to work on that table now. What your manager will do? He will send to the project leader. So the project leader you go, then you go, he sends you to the team leader. The team leader will send you to the senior software engineer and back to the software engineer. So finally you realize that you are not in a technology company but in a municipal corporation. After doing all these things, the software engineer will realize that there was no updated document at all. It's common, right? Nobody likes to write the documents. So poor guy, he has to start writing the documents, and the person who is implementing the technology has to sit with him for days together and understand what is the schema, what are the tables, what are the name of the tables, what are the columns in the tables, what is the data type of these tables. So, but Apache Spark, using a single API, you can get to know everything. The data type, the schema is got using a single API. All your roaming around is gone now. You are sitting there, and with a single API, you are doing the job. So programmatically, you can discover the schema of the database or tables, whatever you can see. So now,
but you see, single API helps you to use it, but you cannot really get into the. Can you go deep into the and understand in case we want to change that?
No, analytics, you don't change the existing thing. You take the data, you modify it, you come out with some insights about that. You aggregate it data and you can store it somewhere. You don't change the existing database.
No, for a developer's case, suppose you are given a task of improve it upon, suppose. So it may help you to quickly use it with the existing systems, old systems. But suppose you are redesigning or something, you are doing you are given a task. Suppose.
Yeah, I will come to that. You can hold on to that question. Now we are able to connect very easily. We are able to determine what's the schema of the tables, whatever database you are connected to that. Then you have to showcase the working demonstration, whether these connections are inferring data, you made something out of that. Otherwise they won't believe you, right? So we have to showcase them. So this is where Zeppelin comes. Anybody use Zeppelin or heard about Zeppelin? It's a user interface to display the query results. You view the query, you get the results. In SQL, it's just the table that shows on the command prompt, right? So it has a user interface. You can, with a single click, you can convert that result into a pie chart or whatever tables you want. There are multiple tables, bar chart, pie chart. So you can get the insights, what's the result actually. So these are the things. This is how we did it. So they wanted a quick, these things happen very quickly. First, Zeppelin is there, which easily integrates to Apache. This, the whole thing is Apache. Apache's core. On top of that is Spark SQL library. It is also part of Spark, and it's a different library inside the Spark. And Zeppelin is the user interface whose default interpreter is Apache Spark. You can give other Python scripts or you can give Perl script. Many other interpreters are there available. Default is Apache Spark. Okay, all these things were done, the whole setup connecting to their existing DB, using installation, all those things were done in half a day. So half a day is very good, right? So you finish everything in half a day. What do you do now? You go home, right? You don't do anything now. So, but there is a problem. What do you fill in your timesheet? That's the main problem, right? You people fill this timesheet. Most of the time goes in filling the timesheet. So that problem will not be solved by Apache Spark, but yeah, you have to solve it by yourself. That was just in half day, everything was done. This is what we call like moving from months to weeks. Everything happens quickly.
I should say days.
Yeah, you can say days because the whole project took us 1 week. Ability to use the existing skill set. How many use SQL here? Okay, a lot of people use SQL here because that's the most popular language in data warehousing and even some other places also, but it's the most common in data warehousing. So you should be able to use that existing skill set because learning one more skill set again takes time. That will not, yeah, you have a question? Okay, fine. So learning one more skill set, again it will take time and again it will add that to the project delivery, right? So whatever we have done was done in Spark SQL because it has a integrated library with Apache Spark, that is SQL library. It gives the interface of Apache SQL queries. It is similar to whatever Hive queries or MySQL queries that you are using. Anybody used Hive queries as part of the job here? Pardon? Yeah, that's yeah, it's similar. You don't have to learn more thing here. Only thing is here, it's a library and everything happens to the core of Apache Spark. Yeah. Okay. Anybody? There is a data frame also. This comes in a higher version of Spark, which is 1.3 of Spark. As of now, 1.5 is running. We have used till 1.4, and data frame API is like schema plus data, you can say, because there is a RDD that takes long time to explain. On top of that, we have data frames. It is nothing but you have the data, you have the schema together. When you have both the things, the performance automatically increases.
1.3 version or 1.5 version?
1.4.1 we have been using, and this data frame has come in 1.3 version. Before that it's just an RDD. Probably RDD is, it will take a lot of time to explain. That is the core of Apache Spark. Lazy execution and immutability, all those things come into picture. So it will take time. Let's not cover all those things. So yeah, the main thing wanted to use the existing technology. You are connecting to MySQL database and you want to, if you want to learn new learning language, then it will be very tough, right? With SQL, with MySQL, SQL is the perfect language that fits. So you have to, and Apache Spark gives that interface very well. You can use SQL queries to read the data from the MySQL database. Same here. Using you can view the commands here in the Zeppelin. It has a user interface to give the commands. Those commands are parsed and optimized in the SQL library, and those go into the Apache code and they execute it by connecting to the database. So you are ready. So all this query execution is done in one day, right? So one more. So you are getting more and more trouble because your timesheet is vacant now. So earlier one day was gone. Now probably this whole thing you would have taken one more week. The whole week timesheet is vacant now. What do you do now, right?
So I mean, if we still have to do the SQL queries, why do we want to go through the whole stack of Apache Spark and those things? I mean, if you already have SQL queries where you can analyze what is there in the MySQL database,
Yeah.
right? Why do you want to go through that whole cycle?
Yeah, that is a good question. The question was, why there is already SQL queries are existing. You can use those same queries and get the data and display all the things. So thing here is MySQL is not scalable, and we in the analytics part probably there are wide tables. Lot of columns are there. In that particular column, you only need a particular. In those columns, we need only a particular column or two columns. Just to execute or get the data from those two columns, you have to read the whole table using the SQL queries. So that we don't want. We want only those data to be read from the hard disk. Only first column, second column or third column. So that's where Apache Spark comes into picture. So but the question, till here we are reading the whole data. Till now we are reading the whole data. I will answer that question, exact answer will come later. Till now, this is just to show the demo to their management. Yeah, that Zeppelin integrates, Apache Spark integrates to the MySQL, and all the queries can be given and the results can be shown. But still now, the whole data table is read from this. It's not only the column is read, because MySQL doesn't support that. To read just the column, you have to read the whole rows, pick out the columns when it is there in the memory and then process it. This is just to showcase them. Okay. So the two things now we learned is like moving from months to weeks, how quickly we can connect to the database, how quickly we can read the data from the database, how quickly we can show the graphical user interface, and using of the existing skill set. So these things make the project to be executed very fast. That's the reason agile practices. So now scaling should be straightforward. You should not take again months of time to scale it. MySQL is good. This will answer your question, but it is not suitable for scaling because most of the things in analytics we may not require the whole table. We may require only one column in that table because we usually do aggregation, min, max in the analytics. We don't do anything else there. So in that case, why it happens is in MySQL, the data are stored in a row wise. When the data sits on the hard disk as a block, we have the whole row data from one end to other end, the whole data is stored. It is not stored in the column wise. So, but if you want only this column, we have to load the whole table into the memory. Once you load into the memory, and from that you have to take the only column that you need to aggregate the data. Taking out the whole data from the table is a very expensive operation. In any distributed or any performance related things, reading data from hard disk and transferring data through the network is an expensive operation. You have to minimize this as less as possible. Input-output operation and data transfer across the network. Even the Amazon charges you for transferring bytes across the network. Number of bytes transferred, it will be charged. Number of input-output operations you do on the hard disk, it will be charged. Those are the costly operation in terms of money as well as in terms of performance. So you have to decrease those things. So if you use MySQL, lot of data has to be read. After that, again you have to come out with a column. See, Apache Spark scales, but the underlying database doesn't scale. It's like fitting the rocket engine to the auto rickshaw, right? Nothing good comes from that. So there is one file format called Parquet file format. Anybody heard about Parquet file format? In Hadoop, if you might have heard of input formats. Those are the simple formats: input format, sequence, text input format, sequence file input format, n-line input format, and many other input formats are there. Most probably, sequence file input format is used in MapReduce programming. But when it comes to, but it is not column-based storage. Again, it's a drawback. When you start using Hive, everything is stored in ORC format. Anybody heard in, by default, it is a text input format, but you can change it to ORC format. Again, ORC format is a columnar based storage format. The data is stored in the column wise, not in a row wise. So Parquet is much better than that. 3 companies have worked on those things: Twitter, Cloudera, and one more company. And they have come up with the storage format, and that is Parquet storage format. So Apache Spark seamlessly integrates with storage format. Now what we are doing here is, scalability is nothing but we cannot use MySQL now. We have to move to some other storage. Either you can use NoSQL database or you can use the Parquet file system. NoSQL database you can use for high throughput and read-write operations, but we don't need it as of now, because they run the queries once in a day, or they take the whole day's data, they dump it into something, they query on that, they come out with the behavior, what all the user were searching for, where were they, all those things. They are doing it for on a daily basis. And the Parquet file is just because MySQL is not scalable. And it will be quick. Whenever you aggregate the data between 2 tables and join the tables, the time taken there is much longer than the time taken in Parquet.
Like this file format means, is it a binary or text means like records?
No, it's PAQ.extension. It's a totally different file format, how data is stored.
PAQ.
I don't remember, PAQ something.
It's readable or it means it's
No, you
binary.
cannot read it.
It's binary.
It's in binary. It's not readable. So this Parquet is supported everywhere. You can store it in your normal hard disk. You can store it in Linux operating system. You can store it in HDFS. You can store it in S3, Amazon S3, everywhere. You can store it. So that's the compatibility it gives, and it works very well with Apache Spark, because Apache Spark is very good to read the data in just a column, and this supports that columnar database. So now we want to read a single column, and that will be taken care by the Parquet file
How
format.
easy is it to convert the MySQL data into?
It's just a single line of code.
How is it?
Yeah. Save as Parquet.
I see.
over.
So this is supported, comes as a built-in support in Spark, or it has, you have to buy something for that.
The API is part of the Apache Spark to save, but Apache, this Spark is totally different open source. The file
That's
format
also open source.
open source is totally different, and they have made it such that it works with all the other ecosystems. So through Spark, you can just give one line save as Parquet file and the destination. So the data will be stored in the Parquet file format. So the 4 GB data is shrink to somewhere around 800 MB of data. The 4 GB to 800 MB of data.
4 GB is in text file format? Or?
Yeah, text file format.
So any file can be converted
Yes.
to read.
Yes.
This is basically like a compression. What I mean,
Compression is
benefit
used
is
inside.
that you are getting it stored in a small.
Yeah, compression is used because if you take the table, normal table, we have like 4 columns. One is name, one is age, one is some transaction ID, then address, all those things. So this whole thing is stored first. So how good you can compress these things? The text is there, digit is there, some floating point number is there, all those things, because the row is stored, right? So you cannot make a good compression on this. When you are storing the column, you are storing only the names. When you are storing the age something, you are only storing the integer. If you are storing the transaction, probably it may be float, you are only storing the float. So these provide good compressions. So you can have better compression algorithms so that those could be compressed very well and stored in a very compact way. So by that, the space decreases. So this is very well. And again, everywhere data, we have been using data frame APIs, which is on top of Apache's core RDDs, and most of the SQL queries will return the data frames. Data frames you can imagine as you have data and you have schema, both the things. If you have only data, you have to infer, you have to understand what's the schema, that will take time. When you have both, the performance increases. So data frame is that. So what we did now is, we read the data from, I think this answers your question. So you read these things because, and we dumped it into the Parquet. Since this was not scalable, we used Parquet file format. So now everything happens very fast. Even if the data grows, here you can use MySQL cluster, but it's not so performance oriented. Many people have failed on that. So you can use here NoSQL, or you can use this Parquet file system.
So where are you storing this Parquet files on the same node where the Apache?
So as of now, we are still in the single node
Single node.
single system, local system. It could be stored in the Linux file system. It is stored in the Linux file system. We have just read it. We have, on a daily basis, we read it and we have dumped it. And now the Zeppelin queries will be, in fact, the result queries, whatever we need, all those are read from the Parquet file system. Fine? Is it clear? Everything? So this is how straightforward it happens. Since I said just a single line of code, probably half a day is too much. A bit testings and all it goes on. Now,
Learning curve is there. You have to learn all this.
yes,
That
yes.
is-
Once the Apache is there, everything falls into place. So again, in half a day everything is done now. So you are getting more and more trouble, right? Time sheet is going,
So you
weekend
should know how to use data frames, how to use Zeppelin, how to use Spark. You should know, right? That may take more time than
If
doing
you-
the work.
Yeah, if you know Hadoop, right, the basic understanding, the underneath, whatever is happening, correlates to Apache Spark. And also, once you learn it, right, it's a one-time learning. After that, using it single line of code, you don't have to debug too much. Because in Java, there will be too much of code. Scala or MapReduce program, too much of code. The debugging itself will take. But in Scala and Spark, it is very less time. So now handling the incremental data. So data keeps on increasing. Right? That's the reason MySQL is not a fit for scalability. So you dump in MySQL you cannot scale it, but in Parquet you can append the data. You can scale it, but the performance will not be good.
Parquet file will be hard disk.
Pardon?
This will be the secondary storage. Parquet file.
I didn't hear you.
Parquet file is in secondary storage, or where do you keep Parquet files?
Yeah, in the secondary storage. In the disk, Linux system disk, a file system, or you can store it in S3. You can sync it. Hello? No, it was not there.
In between getting connected.
Yeah. So this is incremental data. It supports, Parquet supports appending. You just read on a daily basis and you append the data. So appending again can grow to whatever. If it is on HDFS, it will scale. On S3 also it will scale. So it is good for scaling. There is no difference in the performance because we will be only taking the columns and we will be reading the data from the columns. Again, now after these all things were done in a single system. Now we have to move this to the cloud, because on a single system you cannot do the whole analytics thing. We have to move it to the cloud. We used AWS there, and there also Parquet is supported on S3. You can directly dump it into the S3 as a same API. Data frame API, same API, but the destination here will be the S3 file system. There is a script in the Apache Spark which will directly run a cluster. The cluster automatically is created. Or you can use many other companies' Spark as a service tool. There are many companies which provide these tools. Also, Zeppelin can easily be integrated with the cluster, Apache cluster on AWS. Now in the latest release, what they are doing is, Zeppelin is being part of the Apache cluster. In the latest release of Apache, they are integrating Zeppelin with it, so that SQL queries becomes, you don't have to manually install Zeppelin after installing the Apache Spark. It is automatically taken care of. So this is how we have done it. Okay, we read, this is in the local system, in their private data center. We read the whole data through Zeppelin, all the queries are given through Zeppelin. Then we append those data into the Parquet, and which is sitting in the S3 server. So after that, all the nodes, they can grow. As of now, it's a 2-node cluster. They can increase the number of Spark cluster as they want. What we do is we give the initial working, how it happens. Scalability is nothing but increasing the number of nodes in the cluster and appending the data to the Parquet file system. Everything is on EC2 instances and S3. So these are the only thing. The whole setup was done in 1 day, and later the visualization to show to the higher management and half a day. The whole thing was done in 1 week. The whole project was done in just 1 week. So that's how I meant to say it's a agile practices.
Is there a specific reason to use S3?
If you are in cloud, you can use S3.
Or any cloud.
One thing is, it is just like HDFS. The data will be replicated. You don't have to worry about having your own Hadoop cluster. The data is there, you analyze and you store it back. Somebody else can read it from there. Because it's reliable. And most of the companies use S3. Otherwise, what you have to do is, we have to have an EC2 instance. To the EC2 instance, there is hard disk secondary storage, but once the EC2 instance is stopped, terminated, the data is lost. Whatever data was there in the hard disk is lost. One more thing you can do is, you can attach a EBS, an external hard disk. That is also provided in AWS. Attach an external hard disk. Even if the cluster EC2 instance is terminated, that EBS data is still there. You can attach that EBS storage to some other EC2 instance cluster running. And in EBS, you can have the Hadoop cluster, HDFS file system. The better way is using S3, or the other better way is having a NoSQL cluster database run, Cassandra or HBase or Redis or Aerospike, anything.
So what is the, I mean, this is the infrastructure, but what is the analytics?
Yeah, analytics is understanding the user behavior. They wanted to know, you are using the travel app, you are traveling and you are using. The first use case they had is, how many people are in the hometown trying to use the API, and like you are using the API, the app, they wanted to know whether you are in the hometown. And if you are in the hometown, what other places you are searching. Suppose you are in Bangalore and your hometown is Bangalore. And they want to know what are all the places you are searching around. Now you have gone for a trip to Ooty. Okay. So in Ooty, now what you are searching for. So this was the first use case, and the most of the thing that happened is, in their MySQL they were storing the JSON data. You usually don't store JSON data in MySQL. So parsing that itself took time, otherwise it would have been finished much early. That was the only first use case. This is an ongoing project. Probably we may integrate Apache Kafka here and stream the data altogether from the API, and these may be replaced, could be replaced with NoSQL database, because Apache Spark directly integrates with other NoSQL database. That is also a part of agile practices. You have to keep
Try
improving.
that first.
Pardon?
Why haven't you tried that?
No, the thing is, they don't want that. They already have some other database they are using, and their data is not so big data. It's only GBs. It is in GBs, and they are enough. They are happy with this. They don't need. But we are thinking of something else, so that we can integrate NoSQL. So it could be just
I think that is a better option.
yes, it could be, but depends on what is your use case. Do you want it for high write purposes, high read purposes, those things. They are running on a daily basis. At the end of the day, they will run a query and dump that data. And once the data is dumped, they give the query and they get the result. But if they want it on millisecond basis, in that case, NoSQL is best. Otherwise, it's overhead.
I have one question. See, in this whatever they have the MySQL database, that is little more or less fixed, or it can also, because you said incremental rate, that means that this can still a little bit scale on the the database what they have existing one.
Existing MySQL. So I didn't.
Because I didn't get that incremental rate means, that means not one time every day they will be using it, and suppose they want to increase this MySQL store whatever is there also here.
Yeah, they could replace it. Currently what they are doing is, they are moving from MySQL to MongoDB. Currently, in the sense, there are two things that is happening there. One is app data and one is desktop data. They had a desktop web application earlier. Now they have created mobile app. Mobile app data is going into MySQL, and desktop app is going into MongoDB. Now they want to combine these two. Next phase would be for us to take the MongoDB data and merge it here. So they can, on daily basis, they dump it, right? At some point of time, they have to remove the old data.
So that means they will be somewhere refreshing with the same storage capacity what is supported.
Could be possible, or
And,
it's better they store it somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what my question is, how they are scaling this part.
They are removing the old data.
Okay, okay.
The better would be to have a NoSQL database.
Was there any machine learning algorithm used?
No, here no machine learning was used. Probably it will come at.
Answer that you were getting.
Pardon?
This was only the predicate answer you were getting.
Only predicates.
Done by the. No anything was done in this.
No algorithm was used. Probably in the next phase where you understand the users, like whether he likes beach, trekking, what type of a person he is, family person, those are still ahead of us. Like we have just finished this first phase. There are multiple phases. Probably there we will be using the machine learning.
Have you used it in some other scenario or not? As of now.
As of now, we haven't used machine learning. Yeah.
So this is all the framework for you to next phase.
Yeah, we can use streaming, we can use machine learning, all those we can use. Because everything can be integrated with all the existing setup. Yeah, that's all. Anything else? Any questions?
Anything on the video analytics?
We haven't.
You have said somewhere that videos and images like
Right.
use cases.
Unstructured data set, but we haven't used it. Probably if you get a chance working with CDAC on video analytics, you'll be happy.
We do wish.
If there are no other questions, then we have. Thanks so much for answering.
Thank you.
So now we